Good morning, and welcome to Creative Living Fellowship's online Sunday service. Please join me in our opening song, Use Me.
Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, and God's so much more than the earth and the stars and all of creation. God is creator, all in all, and God needs us to shine its light as me, as you, so use me. Oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands, what must they do? Command my life, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new, and God needs us to shine its light as me, as you, so use me. Oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do.
Good morning, CLF.
Hi, CLF.
Good morning, CLF. Sending so much love.
You have an amazing day, CLF.
Happy Sunday, CLF.
Greetings and salutations, CLF.
Good morning, CLF. May love, light, truth, and trust be with you all.
And good morning to our youth ministry. It's always so good to see them. And good morning to all of you. It's always great to be here with you. I'm the Reverend Dr. Sherry F. McCreary. It is my pleasure to be the senior minister here at Creative Living Fellowship and to welcome you here to our online Sunday service. We are an independent religious science church, and we welcome all paths that lead to truth. Our deepest intention here is to be a community of love, of care, of connection that opens hearts, expands consciousness, and transforms lives. And we do that through the principles and the practices of the science of mind. One of our practices here is holding the high watch, and we have two practitioners who are holding the high watch for us this morning. This practice is also known in some communities as holding vigil. And what that means is that they're sitting in prayerful contemplation and meditation, just holding a space for whatever it is we may be moving through at this time. Those practitioners are Peter Waring and Jeannie Sarvins, and I thank them so much for their service here today. Of course, I like to give a shout out always to our Sunday service team who make this service possible. And they are Nicole Jordan and Deb Covington. They're our AV team. Deb is also our song leader. Our music director, David Panessa, leads our meditation service and does background music and all the things we need in that regard. Thank you, David. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Nicole. And today, our tech team is being held down by practitioner Fran Peck, who will take care of our technical issues here today. So thank you all for your service here today. I really, really appreciate all of you. Let's take a breath together. Our musical inspiration today is Reverend Glenn Swain, and he'll be with us a little bit later after we get through this part of the service. So right now, we're going to have a brief, well, Nicole's going to bring us the announcements first, and then we'll have a brief gong wash. The gong wash will be followed by a few moments of silence, and then practitioner Reverend Mary Jane Hyde will bring us our reading and our opening prayer. And I invite you to just open your hearts and open your minds to the words of the reading and just allow them to find a resting place there as you breathe them in. But right now, here's Nicole.
Good morning, Creative Living Fellowship. It is my pleasure to be here this morning and to bring you today's announcements. Don't meditate alone, meditate with us on Facebook. Join us for midday meditation at noon, Monday through Thursday. We also hold a pre-service meditation at 9:30 in Zoom on Sundays. Get your community care and connection on with your CLF family and Reverend Sherry every Tuesday as she hosts a Zoom meeting at 6:30 p.m. This week, Reverend Sherry will be leading Conscious Conversation. If you would like to suggest a conversation topic or activity, please send an email to connect@creativelivingfellowship.com. We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Join our practitioners and ministers on Friday, April 2nd at 6 p.m. as they explore the metaphysical meaning of Jesus's 7 last words. Watch in Zoom or on Facebook, YouTube, or our website live. We will be coming together as a community to experience a very special ceremony to release the CLF property with love and thanksgiving and surround it with blessings for the new occupants. Oh, sorry, tripped up there. Please join us for this very sacred time of releasing Thanksgiving and blessing on Saturday morning, April 3rd from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. We will be following COVID-19 protocols, so everyone attending will be required to wear a mask that properly fits over their mouth and their nose. We will practice social distancing, so at least 6 feet apart, and even if you have had your vaccinations, please, no hugs. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday, April 3rd. More information and details will be coming soon. Quantum Chair Yoga and Meditation will be held on the second Friday in April due to our Good Friday service. So on Friday, April 9th at 5 p.m., join Reverend Christopher Guru Karam Gallagher for powerful Kundalini yoga practices and a great meditation. It's a wonderful way to call in spring. Remember, you can use text to give to make your contributions to CLF. Simply text the amount you'd like to give to 602-610-1868. If it's your first time donating by text, you'll be sent a link to set up your account. And after that, it's as easy as texting the amount you would like to tithe to 602-610-1868. And CLF is a tithing church, which means that we tithe off of your donations. And our 2021 first quarter tithes are going to Circle the City, Healthcare for the Homeless. And speaking of tithing our quarterly tithes, we are always looking for more nonprofits to send our next tithes to. If you have a nonprofit you would like to nominate, please use the link found in the comments to submit your recommendation. Our Sunday prayer room is available to you after service today. Get your after service prayer with a practitioner by heading on over to Zoom using the link provided in the comments. And for those of you in Zoom right now with us, just stay where you are for a prayer after service. Participants will be transferred into a breakout room for a private session with one of our licensed practitioners. And after service, we have Sunday fellowship too. Join practitioner Jeannie Sovereigns in Facebook Messenger chat from 11:15 to 12:15 and hang out, discuss the service or whatever's on your mind or heart, or just connect with your CLF family. And every Sunday, your children are invited to join our youth ministry for a Zoom lesson at noon. Lessons are focused on nurturing their spirituality and science of mind practices. Weekly topics are inspired by Reverend Sherry's themes and include social, emotional, growth mindset, and mindfulness practices. You can find the details for all of our events with their links on our website under events, under our Facebook events, posted in the comments, or in your weekly newsletter. That is it for today's announcements. It is now time to move on to our gong wash, followed by a moment of silence.
And so in the spirit and the energy of that gong, I'll read to the reading today, The Discipline of Service. It's an excerpt from Celebration of Discipline by Richard Foster. Self-righteous service comes through human effort. True service comes from a relationship with the divine other. It's deep inside. Self-righteous service is impressed with the big deal. True service finds it almost impossible to distinguish the small from the large service. Self-righteous service requires external rewards. True service rests contented in the hiddenness. Self-righteous service is highly concerned about results. True service is free of the need to calculate results. Self-righteous service picks and chooses whom we serve. True service is indiscriminate in its ministry. Self-righteous service is affected by moods and whims. True service ministers simply and faithfully because there is a need. Self-righteous service is temporary. True service is a lifestyle. Self-righteous service is without insensitivity. It insists on meeting the need even when to do so would be destructive. True service can withhold the service as freely as perform it. Self-righteous service fractures community. True service, on the other hand, builds community. And so we'll take those words, take them with us as we go into the presence, into the peace, into the center of the allness. And that allness is the divine, and that divine is love. It is peace, it is harmony, it is joy, it is seva, it is sacred service. It is compassion, caring. It is understanding. It is the infinite flow of life in its many forms. It is creativity, unbounded creativity. That is what the divine is. That is what God is. And that God, that energy, that beautiful presence is within each of us. It is expressing in, through, and as me, as that same divine presence, that same peaceful, that holiness is present within each person here, with each person within the sound of my voice. That is what is at the center of each of us. And it is God. And it is expressing in, through, and as, and so. In this moment, I call that forth. I call that forth to express it to its fullest through us, as us, through our actions, through our words, through our thoughts, through our relationships. It fully expresses as the health, the vitality in our bodies. It fully expresses as generosity and love and harmony. It fully expresses as beauty, the beauty of nature, and our ability to be grateful for that, our ability to see it and acknowledge it and be in gratitude. Because while we're in gratitude, we are in the divine. We are in that presence. It is in us and we are expressing it. And in this presence, in this knowing, I accept that all is in divine order. No matter what it looks like on the surface right now, there may be chaos, there's dis-ease, there is disharmony, and yet just below that surface, just below, is nothing but this allness of God. And that is what we call forth. That is what I know is coming forth through everything that looks otherwise. Where there is disease, there is health. And that is coming forth. It is coming forth as I speak. Where there is disharmony, where there is judgment, I see understanding. And I throw a little something extra to the people who are suffering, who lost family members or friends this week in Atlanta. Throw extra to them. And I know that this is not who we are. It is not what we are, because I know we are so much more than that. I know that as we Creative Living Fellowship, as we work today, as we do this service, that all is in divine order. It's all perfectly expressed through us in the highest and best way possible, when everybody is fed in the best way that they can be at the highest for their good. And so I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for Creative Living Fellowship as an entity that it is, and as it is a living being, and as it breathes through and as us, because we are it. I say thank you. I say thank you. I am so grateful for this expression, for the allness that we are. I know that as I let go, as I release, that this is already done. It's already done in the one mind. All we have to do is show up and let it flow. And I say thank you. And I say, so it is. And so we welcome Reverend Glenn Swain as our musical inspiration.
Good morning, Creative Living Fellowship. This is Reverend Glenn Swain with you, and it's indeed my privilege to be here as your guest artist for this morning on this beautiful Sunday morning. You know, I've been thinking lately about how we show up in the world and how we don't show up in the world, and how we should perhaps look at every step as a sacred step, and knowing that every breath in is a breath of a prayer. So this is a song called Be a Light, and I call it a good advice song. Here we go. At a time full of war, be peace. At a time full of doubt, just believe. Yeah, there ain't that much difference between you and me. In a time full of war, be peace. In a world full of hate, be a light. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Don't hide in the dark. You were born to shine. In a world full of hate, be a light. La 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 la. In a place that needs change, make a difference. In a time full of noise, just listen. 'Cause life is but a breeze, you better live it. In a place that needs change, make a difference. In a world full of hate, be a light. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Don't hide in the dark, you were born to shine. In a world full of hate, be a light. La 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 la. 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 In a race that you can't win, slow it down. 'Cause you only get one go around. 'Cause the finish line is 6 feet in the ground. In a race that you can't win, just slow it down. In a world full of hate, be a light. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Don't hide in the dark, you were born to shine. In a world full of hate, be a light. Yeah, it's hard to live in color when you just see black and white. In a world full of hate, be a light. Be a light.
Thank you so much, favorite friend, Reverend Glenn Swain. I love that song. That's beautiful, beautiful song. Let's just take a breath as we breathe the words of that song in. Be a light. And that's what it's all about in this world that we live in. Being a light and allowing that light that is, the only light that is, to shine in and through and as our very lives as we move forward in our lives. So happy spring to everybody. We made it to spring. This is as we continue to march through March. And the weather is getting really nice, and the days getting longer. So it's really, really great just to experience the light that is all around us, just from the weather change and the time change for people who are in zones where the time has changed. We're talking about service this month, being in service. And we talk about being in service as opposed to doing service. Even though it's a good thing to do service, it is really much more wonderful to be of service, because that's when we get to bring our whole selves and be in that place of full givingness, when we are being in service, being all that we can be in service. And we have also talked about not getting into a place of comparing and wondering why bother, and because we don't have as much to offer as somebody else. None of that matters. The thing for us each to do is to be all that we can be as we move through this time of service, of being in service, of being together, because service is really about oneness. It's about unity. It's about healing the sense of separation, because service is connection. In order to be in service, we are connecting. And in connecting, we are acknowledging the interconnectedness and becoming more and more aware of the interconnectedness and interdependence of life, and how interdependent we are on each other, how interconnected we each are as we walk through this life. And so service reminds us of the journey that we're on, the journey of awakening that we're all on. And we're walking this journey together. We are in the book, Who's Helping? Or How Can I Help? I'm sorry. Ram Dass writes about walking each other home. And that's what we're doing here. We're walking each other home. And we can do that through service, through opening our hearts. Someone said that service is the spontaneous response of an open heart. Service is a spontaneous response of an open heart. We have to have an open heart for service to be authentic. And so that's what I am inviting each of us to do today. Just continue to look at being service itself. And it's a lifestyle, as the reading says. It's a way of life. It's a way of being. And when we can be in that place of oneness and recognize that in service, we're not the doers. We are the vehicles through which the doer is working, through which the doer is operating. And as we recognize that, then we can be open and receptive to just allowing Spirit to work through us, so that we are being in that place of connection. We are being in that place of oneness. We are being in that place of unity. We are being in that place of community. We are being in that place of true service, where we're actually living it. We're actually living it. And I talked, the first week that I talked about service, I talked about the volunteers who were working at the site where I went to get the vaccine. And that just struck me so much, just the attitudes and the love that was shown, and the connection that was made with everyone I came in contact with as I was going through that line, driving through that line. And I've heard other people say the same thing, who have gone for the vaccines, that the people who have been serving as volunteers are so, the response is, they're so nice. Everybody's so nice. Everybody's so open. Everybody's so welcoming. Everybody's so loving. And it's sort of sad that we have to comment on things like that. It's sort of sad that it's not the rule. It's sort of sad that we think of people being really nice and really open and really warm and really connecting with us. It's sort of sad that we think of that as the exception rather than the rule. And I'm glad that we got to experience it anyway. And we can experience it even more when we decide to become service, to be service, because everything starts with us. Everything that we want starts with each one of us. And so I'm inviting you to just continue to just be service, to be open, and to allow your heart to be open, so that you can just walk the walk of service, because that's what we're talking about today, walking the walk of service, walking the walk of service, just being open and just allowing God to work in and through and as each one of us. allowing God to work in and through and as each one of us according to our own individuality, according to our own uniqueness. And so as we do this, there are a couple of things I want to remind you to do. Well, actually three things. There are usually three things that I have to, and I always call them a couple, but it's usually three. But the first thing is be willing to dare to release who you think you are. Dare to release who you think you are. Dare to release who you think you are so that you can become all that you were created to be. Dare to release who you think you are, because who we think we are separates. Who we think we are is not in oneness. Who we think we are is different than who we really are. And so when we can dare to release who we think we are, because who we think we are dictates what choices we make, how we live our lives, what decisions we make, because that's who we think we are. We think whoever it is we think we are is usually determined by the labels that we have given ourselves or that somebody else has given us. And so we act and we choose and we decide according to those labels. Who we think we are separates us because we get into that us and them mode when we are dealing with who we think we are. And so when we can release and let go of who we think we are, then we create a space for God to work so that we can live and become who we really are. And in that becoming, there always is change. There's that word again, change. In order to become all that we were created to be, there has to be change. Otherwise, we'd already be there if something didn't have to change. In order to become all that we were created to be, there has to be growth. And so these are, I'm reminded that these are visioning questions. How must I, in the question, what must I become? The sub question is, how must I change? How must I change? Where must I grow? So in order to become all that I was created to be, as I let go of who I think I am, in order to become all that I was created to be, how must I change? Where must I grow? And then taking a deep breath and then allowing that willingness to come forth. That willingness to change, because, even though we know that changes that we need to make, we're not always willing to do that. We're not always willing to give up who we think we are, because we've gotten so attached to what life looks like and being in control of thinking that we're in control anyway of our lives and the way we move forward. So just being willing to give up who we think we are so that we can be and become all that God wants to be in and through and as each one of us. Let's take a breath. As I'm talking about this, I'm reminded of the story of Jake Olson. And Jake Olson came to my attention when he was 16 years old. He was totally blind, and he was a golfer, and he was a great golfer. And he had written a book entitled Open Your Eyes. And he said that he didn't need his eyesight in order to see. That God was his vision, and he was a champion golfer at 16, and he had been blind since he was a small child. And he went on to become a blind football player. He played for USC as some kind of snapper, and I'm chuckling because it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. He played football, and he did something with snapping the ball for USC. And he was the first and only blind football player. Imagine that, a blind football player, a blind golfer. If he had hung on to who he thought he was, then he could never have become the golfer. He could never have become the first and only blind football player. And he played for USC for a couple of years. Now he's a motivational speaker and he does all sorts of things. But how wonderful is that? How wonderful it is when we can give up. He was willing to give up who he thought he was. He thought he was, if he had hung on to what he thought he was or what his label was, he would have been a blind young man. And then choices he made would have been dictated by who he thought he was. But his choices were not dictated by who he thought he was, because he gave up who he thought he was and he opened himself up to be all that God created him to be. God saw God saw itself through operating through Jake Olson as a golfer, as a football player, and as a motivational speaker, and that's all the wonderful things that he does in the world. This is what service is all about. This is what being open is all about. This is what lifestyle is all about. Because when we do when we do these kinds of things, when he does what he does, that was a service to the world because it was a motivation for so many other people. It was an inspiration to so many other young people, older people. It didn't matter, just an inspiration of how we can live our lives, despite the fact that there may be what we consider to be restrictions or limitations. The limitations are in our own minds. The limitations are not in the mind of God, because there are no limitations in the mind of God. And so giving up who we think we are so that we can be all that we were created to be, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. And so that's what I'm inviting you to do today. Give up who it is you think you are and open up to become all that you were created to be. The second thing I'd like to invite you to do is to let compassion dictate every step of your journey on this walking the walk of service. Let compassion inform your every step. Ernest Holmes says that compassion is the most gentle of all the human virtues because it is the outpouring of divinity through all. It is the outpouring of divine givingness through all. Compassion is. And so when we can let compassion be our guide, compassion be our motivator as we're moving forward, as we walk this walk of service, then we learn to listen more and to talk less sometimes. We learn to listen without opinion. We learn to listen without judgment. We learn to operate from a place of openness. We learn to operate from a place of non-resistance, let resistance just go, to fall by the wayside. When we can be compassionate, we can look at the world, look at life through someone else's eyes. We can hear things with someone else's ears. We listen with softer ears. We look with softer eyes. When we can allow compassion, when we allow compassion to inform our every step, then the way that we interact with each other becomes a totally different situation. The way that we connect with each other. This is how we get to unity. This is how we get to oneness. When we allow compassion to be our guide on this walk, then we recognize that everybody's not like us, thank God. Everybody doesn't look like us. Everybody doesn't act like us. Everybody doesn't think like us. And we are all made in the image and likeness and out of God. We learn to listen. We learn to understand. We learn to find common ground. We learn to forgive. We learn to forgive mistakes. We learn to not be so harsh in our criticism, or not criticize at all. Imagine that. We learn to just allow each person to be all that they were created to be, just as we are allowing ourselves to be all that we were created to be. And so I'm inviting you today to just really allow compassion. See where there can be more compassion in your life. See how you can act more compassionately when you're driving. See how you can act more compassionately if you're in the store, or when you're at home, watching television, or doing whatever it is you do at home. How can you be more compassionate with yourself? Because we are included in all of this that I'm talking about in service. We are included. The way that we treat ourselves, the way that we act with ourselves, the way we think about ourselves, the way that our self-talk goes, all of that goes into how we walk this walk of service. Because when we are disserving ourselves, we cannot serve the world. When we're disserving ourselves, we cannot serve God. We cannot live in oneness when we are not in oneness with ourselves. And so it's important for us to really be gentle, as Ernest Holmes says. This most gentle virtue of human virtues is compassion. Let it start with self-compassion. Let it start with accepting yourself just as you are. Let it start with coming back to just knowing the truth of your being, that you are made in the image and likeness and out of God itself. And that there is that within you that has never been hurt, harmed, or endangered in any way. And there's that within you that can never be hurt, harmed, or endangered in any way. There's that within you that is whole just as it is. And learning to love that, learning to accept that. And when we start to do that, we learn to accept others the same way. We learn to accept others the same way. And we find that others begin to accept us, but it's only because it starts with us. We've started to accept ourselves. We've started to accept ourselves in that way. That's what service is all about. And so as we're walking this walk of service, let's walk this walk of service with compassion. Let's walk this walk of service with compassion. With compassion. And there's a part of compassion, is love. Is love. It's love. I'm reminded the Dalai Lama says, if you want to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to make others happy, practice compassion. That's what compassion is all about. Just practicing compassion, being accepting, being loving, being open, allowing our hearts to be open and receptive as we move through this journey, as we walk this walk of service. As we walk this walk of service. And the third thing I want you to consider is be bold in your walk. Be bold in your walk of service. Be bold. Dare to be authentic. Dare to step out and walk this walk and live your life, even though when you step out, you have no idea where you're going. You have no idea how you're going to get there. You have no idea about any of that. But be bold, because we know that when we step out, there's always that divine intelligence that is ordering our steps. There's always a divine intelligence that is guiding us. There's always a divine intelligence that is protecting us, that is directing us. And when we can just be open and open-hearted and decide we're going to be bold with this. We're going to be bold with this service. We're going to be bold enough to live in oneness. Bold enough to live in oneness. It's not popular right now to be unified. It's not popular right now to be in oneness. It's not popular right now for us all to be in this thing together. The most popular thing that seems to be going now is divisiveness, is division. We don't want to be a part of that. Be bold enough to desire to live in oneness. Be bold enough to walk the walk of service, so that we are walking in oneness every step that we take. Be bold enough to be different from those people who may be relatives or friends or whoever of yours who are deciding to be divisive, who are deciding to be separate, who are deciding to be in those them and other camps, them and us camps. We can be bold and decide, no, I choose to walk the walk of oneness. I choose to walk the walk of service. I choose to walk the walk of connection. I choose to walk the walk of unity. I choose to allow myself to be a reflection of that divine presence that is everywhere present, and to allow it to express in and through and as my very life. That's boldness, particularly in today's world. And that doesn't mean that you have to flaunt it in somebody's face. It doesn't mean that anything except that you just be you. And you decide to be the best you can be. And when you decide to be the best you can be, then that spills over. That spills over to others. That spills over because your life becomes a reflection of that. When you're being the best you, when you're being the authentic you, your life becomes a reflection of that. That's what service is all about. That's a service to the world. That's a service to the world, because you're giving from that place of that divine givingness. You're giving your all. You're giving your all to the whole. And you're allowing yourself to be that place and space through which the allness that is can express fully and completely. That takes boldness to do that. It takes boldness not to hold back. It takes boldness not to hold back. And so I encourage you to be bold. Be bold in living your life. Be bold in walking your walk. Be bold and because of the recognition that what we do affects everyone and everything. It has a ripple effect in life. It goes on and on and on and on. When we are willing to just be open and just willing to live completely and fully. I'm reminded of a poem by Donna Markova in a book by the same name, I Will Not Die an Unlived Life. I will not die an unlived life. And she says, I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my living to open me, to allow my living to open me, to allow my living to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance. I choose to risk my significance. I choose to risk my significance. To live so that which came to me as seed goes to the next as blossom. And that which came to me as blossom goes on as flower. That's how we live this life together. By choosing to die and by choosing not to die an unlived life, by choosing to live a lived life, so that when we're no longer here, we would have lived a lived life. We will die a lived life. And I invite us all to be bold enough to do that. Be bold enough to walk forward. Be bold enough to choose to inhabit your days. Be bold enough to risk your significance. Be bold enough to let go of the fear, to allow your heart to be open, to allow yourself to be in service so that you can be in oneness. This is how we walk the walk of service. And this is what I'm inviting each of us to do today. Walk that walk of service. Walk it boldly, walk it lovingly, walk it compassionately, walk it wondrously, and allow yourself to be all that you were created to be. Let's take a breath as we turn within in this moment. Just turning within in this moment to that place of knowing that there's but one power, but one presence, but one life, but one mind, but one breath, but one activity. There's but one presence. That one I choose to call God, but by any other name, it is the source of our being. That one is my very life. That one is the life of each of us here this day. That one is that from which we can never be separate. That one lives and moves and has its being in me. That one lives and moves and has its being in each one of us. That one is everywhere present. That one is that from which we can never be separate, no matter what we think, what we feel, what the appearance may be. That one is that from which we can never be separate. And so just knowing this truth, I just speak the word for each of us this day. Just knowing that as we walk through this time, we walk boldly through this time, letting go of anything that may block, letting go of anything that may hinder, letting go of anything that may encumber the full expression of that divine presence that is with each one of us, that is within each one of us. And as we release and let go of those encumbrances of any kind, then we are filled with love. We are filled with compassion. We are filled with peace. We are filled with harmony. We're filled with blessings. We are filled with all the qualities of God. All the qualities of God. All needs are met in each and every moment of each and every day. Because God is always showing up as whatever it is we may need at any moment, at any given time. And so we turn our full focus, our full attention on that one power, that one presence that is always right where we are, and allow it to work in our lives. And the word that I'm speaking right now is for each one of us, for each one of us. For those who are experiencing dis-ease of any kind in the body temple, I know that that radiant healing presence of God is right where each one is. Every organ, cell, tissue, function of the body, every system, everything in the body is responding to that radiant healing presence that is God. For those who may have lost loved ones, I know that that great comforter that is God, that peace that passes human understanding, that peace of mind that is God is right where each of them is, comforting them, lifting them up. I'm just knowing that for anyone who's experiencing lack of any kind, that divine abundance is right where each one is. There is no lack. There is only abundance, only prosperity. And I know that anything that may be blocking it in their experience is removed. This is all about this word that's being spoken right here and right now. Right here and right now. This word goes out to the people in Atlanta who are experiencing grief and loss as a result of heinous acts and hatred. I know that love is in the midst of everything, but God is in the midst of everything. The word goes out to anyone, anywhere who's experiencing grief and loss as a result of violence or divisiveness or apparent separateness or whatever the case may be. God is in the midst, for love is in the midst, and healing is happening. This word goes out to this nation, to this country, to everyone. Just knowing that healing of our hearts, the disarming of our hearts is happening because the love that is God is everywhere present. It is penetrating everything, and all else falls away. Anything unlike it falls away. And there's peace, and there's harmony, and there's balance, and there's togetherness, and there's oneness that's beginning to reveal itself as we come together in unity, as we come together in compassion, as we come together in recognition that there is but one life and that we are all a part of that one life. And I know that healing happens. I speak a word of blessing for our government officials, just knowing that they are divinely guided, and they're divinely inspired and divinely motivated to do the right thing, to make the right decisions, to make the right choices. And all of those that are for the highest and best of all concern, for the highest and best of all concern. No factions, no separation, no groups, all concerned. Decisions and actions are taken for the highest and best for all. This is a truth that I know that is happening with our government officials right now. This word goes out to anyone needing a prayer this day, just knowing that right where each of them is, God is blessing and keeping them. God is blessing and keeping them. And so in this moment of prayer, I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer this day. You may speak their names silently or aloud, and you may speak them now. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, I know that right where each of them is, God is blessing and keeping them. That power and that presence of God is lifting them up, surrounding them, that light of God indwells them, surrounds them, that love of God, that peace of God is comforting broken hearts. I know that God is in the midst of everything. Situation, circumstance, event, God is in the midst of it. Whatever we may name it, God is everywhere present, and all is well. And so I simply say, thank you, Father, Mother God, for the word spoken. Thank you for the perfect manifestation of this word that's spoken here this day. Thank you, God, for everything. And so it is. Thank you, David. And now we come to our offering time. This is a time that we give of our tithes and offerings. And we invite you to participate in this part of the service with us by clicking the donate button on our website or click on the donate links in the comments. And you can also text to give by dialing the number that's in the comments also. But however you we certainly appreciate your continued financial support of Creative Living Fellowship. So why don't we pause for a moment now and just say our offering blessing together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God. And so it is. And now here's Reverend Glenn again.
All right. This last song I want to do for you is a song I wrote about 4 or 5 years ago. It went on my first CD. It's called Trinity, and it really speaks to how God is in everything, the good and the seemingly not so good. All right? God in the preacher, God in the liar, God in the sky and God in the fire, God in a woman, God in a man, God in every step to the promised land. God in the book, God in the verse, God in the good and God in the worst, God in the river, God in the sea, God in the stream of you and me. Hey, ever since the world began, and all that will be, one and one and one, the Trinity. God in the peasant, God in the leader, God in the giver and God in the needer, God in the hurting, God in the healed, God in the secret and all revealed. God in the story, God in the song, God in the right and God in the wrong, God in the house, God in the steeple, God all around for all of the people. Hey, ever since the world began, and all that will be, one and one and one, the Trinity. God in the dark, God in the light, God in the peace and God in the fight, God in the action, God in the thought, God in all you want and all you got. God in the future, God in the past, God in the now and God on the path, God in the high, God in the low, God in the wind anywhere it blows. Hey, ever since the world began, and all that will be, one and one and one, the Trinity. Hey, ever since the world began, and all that will be, one and one and one, the Trinity. Yeah, one and one and one, the Trinity. One and one, the Trinity. Blessings, everyone.
Thank you, Reverend Glenn. I love that song. I really love that song. So let's take a breath together. I just have a few closing announcements. And Reverend Glenn, we're glad you are here today, and I know you'll be back to see us real soon. I have a couple of closing announcements just to reiterate what Nicole said during the announcements, that we have a closing ceremony coming up for after the sale of our property, as we get ready to move out, we're going to have a releasing Thanksgiving blessing ceremony on Saturday, April 3rd from 10 in the morning to 11:30. And that's the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter Sunday. And I invite you all to come out and to participate in this closing ceremony that we're having. The details are still being worked out. We do know that it's going to be COVID. We're going to use COVID protocol as we go through this. And that's why so many details have to be worked out about how we actually do that kind of service. But we would like to release our property. We would like to give thanksgiving for our property, and we'd like to bless it as it moves on to the new occupants of the property. And so we invite you all to come out and participate in that sacred time with us on Saturday, April 3rd. And immediately after service, as you know, practitioner Jeannie Sovereigns has the fellowship time, and that's the time that you can go and break bread together and have wonderful conversation together and connect with each other. That's a wonderful time to come together and connect after service. That's the New Homes Hall, Jeannie's fellowship time. So I invite you to participate in that and join Jeannie and others in that connection place. Don't forget that if you want to pray with the practitioner, the Zoom prayer room is open immediately after service also. If you're in the prayer room, stay put. If you're in the Zoom room, stay put, and you'll be led into a breakout room so that you can pray privately with the practitioner. If you're not in the Zoom room, you can just click on the link and come on in and meet with the practitioner. If you don't want to do it in the Zoom room today, you can always reach out to the on-call practitioner off the website, or you can get it. Practitioners are available to pray with you and to pray for you. And of course, you can send an email prayer request to the practitioners. And that email is prayer@creativelivingfellowship.com. prayer@creativelivingfellowship.com. Practitioners pray over your prayer requests for 30 days. So the point is, don't walk around with a heavy heart. Practitioners are available to pray with you, and they are anxious to pray with you. So avail yourself of the service of the practitioner corps here at Creative Living Fellowship. Don't forget the youth ministry meets at 12 o'clock today. So you may want to drop the kiddies off on your way to the basketball game. Since March Madness is going on, kids can be at the youth ministry and you can be watching the basketball game. So do that. And don't forget the treatment for supply. That is our community prayer, and we invite you to continue to use it. It really works, and continue to use it because it really works, and continue to use it with feeling, with gusto, with meaning, so that it really does work, because the creation, as Ernest Holmes says, is in the feeling. And that's how we aren't just reading words, we are really feeling the prayer. We are praying supply. That's what we're doing. Tuesday night connection meeting. This week we're having conscious conversation. I will be there. I'd love to have you join us from 6:30 to 7:45. That will be a wonderful time to come out. And we've been having some really great meetings for the last few weeks, and I'd like to have you join us just to continue to be a part of this community, because after this month, our meeting place will continue to be online until we are guided to our next place after the public health situation will allow us to move to the next place. So we invite you to continue to be a part of this community online. Be bold enough to walk in service this way with us, because that's what we're doing, allowing God to order our steps, and allow God to order your steps as you continue to be a part of this community. That's all I have for now. Reach out to each other. Send emails, send text messages, say I love you, phone calls, whatever it takes to connect with each other. Stay connected. We are a community of connection, and we stay connected with each other. And so I'm just saying to you, I love you. I miss you. I can't wait to see you and see what the future holds for us and see what God has in store for us. Right now, I know that we are where we are, right where we are right now, and that God is right where we are right now. And so take good care. Be safe. I love you. God bless. And now our closing song, our release.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I